How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Therapist Talks with your host, me, Jake Minig, licensed mental health addiction professional. Today, I will be beginning the series Becoming a Therapist. And I chose this video because it's very interesting. I was going to make it part of the quitting one, but they and this individual in the video is not a fully licensed therapist, so they're known as a pre-license. But again, that's not taking anything away from the hard work and what they have done. I'm actually a huge advocate of making it easier for them to be fully licensed, but I digress. That's not the main point of this video, but it's going to be getting really into the struggles we go through just graduating with a master's degree. That in itself is really, really difficult, along with the internship hours you need to do just to get your master's degree and then thesis. It's just so much work. And again, I, for one, am not taking any credit away from this individual or anyone who's just graduated. It's a tremendous accomplishment. But I feel like this is a phenomenal video, just really explaining like the struggles individuals go through trying to become fully licensed and how things in the system need to be changed. So again, like I said, it's a great video. I'm also going to stop it to put my 2 cents in and share my experiences, what I went through that are obviously similar to this person. So, yeah, without further ado, let's begin.
No, I am just kidding, mostly kind of, sort of. I didn't quit, I don't think, but I am on pause. And I'm just going to talk about why, because some people asked. So, as some of you know, I got my master's in counseling psychology, and that involved obviously a ton of courses and a ton of practicum hours. And then for a very short stint, I was a working unlicensed therapist. That is normal. Nobody is licensed after they graduate. It's literally impossible. You have to put in hours after you graduate. You're breaking some kind of.
In Minnesota, it's 4,000 hours of post supervision work. And like I said in the description, every state's different, but I believe that is the highest requirement. I've yet to hear about another state requiring more hours. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's disgusting, to be honest with you. It's horrendous, and I'm really trying to fight against that in our society, and just for these therapists or for these people who are trying to be fully licensed, because it's just too difficult, and we're going to be losing a lot of good people in this field if we keep these standards like this.
Rule if you're immediately licensed. So I worked for 2 months, and then I decided to take a step back because I was incredibly burnt out.
Yes.
And I have now entered my slow living era. I think that burnout is really common in helping professions, so I want to talk about that a little bit. I know that one of the reasons that caused me to become depleted was, I don't know what was up, but I felt like I had a certain thing to prove, and I was determined to get a 4.0 while getting my master's. And I did, but you know what? If I could go back, I wouldn't do it. It was not worth the heartache and the late nights. And it doesn't matter, really. I was goofily trying to compensate for my undergraduate degree, which I got a perfectly fine GPA of like 3.65 in. But since I'm a perfectionist with imposter syndrome, I developed this belief that I had to get a perfect GPA in order to
display my worth as a therapist.
Yeah, I think I graduated with a 3.4, but like I said, just the coursework alone, it's not necessarily like IQ type difficulty. I actually did not take a lot of exams in grad school. It's just a tremendous amount of work when it comes to essays, papers, presentations. What else? D2L, PowerPoints, present. It's a lot of work. That's all I'm trying to get to, and then your 40 to 50 page thesis and your internship, and a lot of people are also working at this time. I know I was working full time, not making a lot of money, along with my internship, which for the most part you're not getting paid. Some do, but I was not. And like this person was explaining, like, I think what they're getting at is that attempting to get a 4.0 causes them more stress when it comes to the coursework, which, yeah, I definitely agree. However, I so badly wanted to use the saying, C's get the degrees. I don't know about their graduate school, but mine would not have let you graduate with a C. I think you needed like at least a 3.1 or 3.2 to graduate. It's really weird. I don't know why it's set up like that. So yeah, but anyways, I'll let them continue.
it probably would have been a better way to spend my time deconstructing that way of thinking and challenging that cognitive distortion, but that's not what I did. On top of grinding away at school, that was also when Gray and I were trying to get pregnant. We tried 14 times, which was emotionally exhausting. We also moved houses, and that's when I was kind of going through my weird, challenging, internalized transphobia Abigail Schreier era. So I was pooped. This also happened to be the time that I developed an autoimmune disease. Probably because I was running myself ragged and had a lot of feelings I wasn't dealing with. But eventually I got to this point, which was the culmination of all of those things, right around the time the kids were born. And a little before that is when I felt like I was at a crossroads.
Yeah, I really I feel bad for individuals who like they want to start a family, have kids. It's even hard to date in grad school. It really is, just with the amount of work you have to do and the lack of free time you have. And I give all my fellow classmates all the respect in the world for them having spouses, kids, a family, having to raise kids, and what they had to endure just to graduate. I can't imagine. Because like I said, I just like them, I was extremely, extremely burnt out. It's interesting. Like I look back now, and I probably should have taken a break, not like a long break, but maybe a semester, because I was going through a lot of stress and anxiety towards the end, and I won't get into all the details. You can say some educational trauma, but in the sense of the course, like work and situations that I won't get into in this live, but yeah, it's just so much, and I was really, really burnt out. And looking back, I definitely should have taken a break, at least a semester. But I wanted to get done, push through, and it did come at a cost. It came at a mental health cost, which ironically, I'm going to school for mental health. So
Could either keep working or not. There were and are a ton of pros and cons to either decision. Like I established, I was burnt out, and continuing to work would be difficult because being a therapist is hard. It obviously involves a ton of emotional labor just by nature, and the truth is, it's really difficult, in my opinion, to make a living off this work. In a perfect world, with more forgiving conditions, a therapist role would be a brilliant fit for me. It is so rewarding. But of course, we don't live in a perfect world. And as things are, I would need to take 5 to 6 appointments a day just to almost afford daycare.
Yeah.
And those 5 to 6 appointments do not include the 2.5 hours of consult and supervision required a week, as well as all the time it takes to complete paperwork.
great point they made. So you have to realize not a lot of places will pay for your supervision. A lot of students or practitioners have to pay for their supervision. No, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of places that will also pay for your supervision or cover like 50% of it. But then there's downsides to that because the places that pay for your supervision, you tend to make less, and that's more getting into like the treatment center setting, or maybe even community mental health too. But I think what they're about to get to is, so I'm working at a community mental health facility right now. I'm fully licensed, but the issue with group practice and community mental health is that they give you a percentage of insurance reimbursement rates. So I'm fully licensed and I'm only getting 60% of the reimbursement rate. So let's just say hypothetically, let's just say you care whatever, and every plan is different, but let's say I make $120 from doing like a 1 hour session with UCare. Well, again, I'm only getting 60% of that. So again, my math is horrible, but I'm probably making around $70 maybe a session. Compared to full rates would be around, like I said, 120, 140, give or take. Now, being pre-licensed, you're probably only making at least 50% of that. So you're really not making a lot of money. And like I said before, it's even worse when you have to pay for your own supervision.
None of which you are paid for. So, like, oh, so many people in this economy who are currently buying childcare, I would basically be paying to work. So that's obviously not great, right?
So
but another
horrible.
important thing to consider is 5 to 6 appointments a day doesn't personally align with my values and capacity. Because that's like a full day of back to back to back to back clients all week long. Not only is that really tiring for me, but it doesn't allow me to provide meaningful services for the folks that I see.
Yeah.
So back to that perfect world thing. In a perfect world, I would have one day a week open for rescheduling. So if I get sick or a client gets sick or an emergency happens or something really stressful pops up in their life, I would always have like Fridays open for impromptu appointments. Because otherwise, providers end up being booked out months and months and months in advance or not honoring their own boundaries.
So I will say this, that's a great idea. Everyone's different strokes for different folks, as they say. They made a good point on every therapist is different. Some therapists, especially when they're younger, like them or her, like I'm 39, so I'm not like super old or whatnot, but I know myself, I can't, like they said, do 6, 7 sessions in a row. I've done it before. I despise it. I hate it because I get burnt out. So people like me and them, like we're not programmed like that, and that's good that we know that about ourselves. But like I said, some younger therapists have no problem doing 7 to 8 sessions a day, Monday through Friday. Now, and again, I understand when they said taking a day off just for rescheduling. I mean, as a fully licensed therapist, I don't need a whole day off to do rescheduling. I wouldn't need that. So maybe that's just their lack of experience. Again, over time, you get better at scheduling time management as time goes on too. So hopefully they'll learn that. But yeah.
And working super late. Additionally, a super packed schedule would prohibit me from doing extra research, which I also super value. If I'm working with a particular community,
Not a research fan. Kudos to her. It's not my bag. I respect it. And I know it's super important, but not my passion. So good for them.
or set of symptoms that I'm not very knowledgeable about, I really like to have some time to sit down and become more acquainted with those things through like books or articles or other materials. So when you're working full time, there's honestly just no opportunity for that.
I also love that they said that because this is the time where you flourish as a therapist. So when you're in graduate school, yes, you're doing your internship. You're just learning how to do the basic skills of therapy, learning your style. But then when you graduate, we really have a passion for like wanting to know who we are as therapists. What's gonna be our style, our flow, the main therapeutic modalities that we're gonna apply to other clients. This is where most of us want to find a specialization or maybe 2 or 3 and really hone in on that. But also, like they said, you got to pay bills and you have to try to get clients at low rates, and you don't have the time to really harness your abilities and skills to determine what do I want to do as a therapist? Who am I really as a therapist? And what is the best version of me that goes with certain modalities to help people?
Don't know how people do it. If you're a provider, please let me know in the comments. How do you find time to fill in your knowledge gaps and keep learning while having a full client load?
I wish I could help you out with that. I'm getting a little bit better at that, but again, yet I'm 2 years in, so you're not alone.
How? Because I could not do it. And being an introverted person, I know that I also need a much lighter amount of clients in order to not become a total zombie by the end of the week and give folks the care that they deserve. Then, in the superest perfect world, I also like to have at least one pro bono client. But if I were to do all those things, if I were to only see 3 to 4 people a day, and if I were to keep my Fridays open for research and rescheduling,
No money.
and then see someone for free, I would be super paying to work. And unfortunately, with 2 kiddos, that is just not an option, which sucks because when I'm not able to give those services to folks, I feel so guilty. The guilt is real because I think those things are important. Like, I really do think there should be some flexibility with rescheduling. And I strongly believe that folks deserve a therapist who is present and competent. And for individuals who can't afford therapy, I still believe they deserve access to therapy. Like, I really strongly feel all those things. And when I can't offer them, it just doesn't feel, I don't know, like ethical or worth it. Despite what
It's like compassion fatigue. I think I know where they're coming from. It's really sad. There's so many people out there who need therapy who cannot afford it. And I've talked about this in past episodes. They don't have insurance, or they don't know even how to get insurance. They don't even know what routes to take to find the people to even help them get insurance. And it's tough out there, especially today. This, like I said, this video is actually really recent. It's probably a year old. So yeah, the healthcare system is horrendous. It's a horrendous mess, and times are tight right now. Times are tough for people. I mean, I've known people who've had to quit therapy because they couldn't afford the $30 or $20 copay, because it's a lot for like families. And I get the sense that what she's going through is that she's getting burnt out, and there's like a compassion fatigue occurring for her, where she wants to do pro bono. She wants to help the people even though they can't afford it, which is very noble. But again, like they're getting to, it's just like you can't pay your bills like that. It- So it's very, yeah, in a perfect world.
My master's GPA would tell you, I understand that you can't do things completely perfectly. And I know that there might never be a time in my life when I can offer all of those things to the people that I see. But right now I know that I couldn't even provide most or maybe even some of those things, and that just doesn't feel right. Now please don't misunderstand me. I'm not vlogging about this to complain. I mean, maybe like to complain about
Vent, and you can vent all you want. There's nothing wrong with venting. You're not alone, and you're not the only therapist who does this, so you are fine.
late stage capitalism. I'll get to that in a minute. But more so, I want to provide some solidarity if you're working in a helping profession and you just feel exhausted. You are not alone. It is tough out there, and you're not a failure just because you're tired. I really think companies should shoulder the burden so clinicians can do some of this stuff. I feel like all clinics should pay therapists for consult time, for paperwork time, and for like some monthly prep time so they can stay up to date. I mean, when I'm in consult, I'm at work, right? I'm not like at home. It reminds me of when I was a flight attendant and they didn't pay for boarding or deplaning. Those are the hardest parts of the job. So these problems are not strictly confined to the therapy realm. They exist in all careers under capitalism. Anyway, now I stay home with the twins a few days a week, and they part-time go to daycare because I make a tiny amount of money from YouTube. In the end, I really think this was the right decision. I was missing my creative work so much, and it has felt wildly good to tap back into that. Also, the bonding that I get with the kiddos is like priceless. This is such a special time. Like developmentally, they're going through so much, and I get to witness a ton of it. I am a lucky duck.
It's really
And that
beautiful.
was another big factor into my decision making, because Bray and I are like 98% sure these are the only two kids we're gonna have. These are the only two kids we're gonna have. I don't get to do the infant thing again or the toddler thing again. This is it. And I am so privileged that I get to be there. It's amazing. There is some philosophical and identity stuff that I'm grappling with right now, as many of you have witnessed on this channel. But ultimately, I'm really content. No, I'm not content. Ultimately, I'm really grateful, excited, and happy with where my life is right now. It's
Another thing too, I want to bring up. A lot of therapists don't know what they can do with their degree that's not therapy. So she made a really great point on like social media, YouTube. Again, I don't know how much money she makes. She has over 100,000 followers, which is phenomenal. I think it's her and her partner's podcast. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to do a video on like other careers therapists can get into that's not therapy, because that's something I'm actually personally trying to branch out into. Of I want to get into supervision, do more crisis work. Obviously now I'm doing YouTube now, because again, I just like her, I'm not the therapist that can do 7, 8 clients. And plus I want some variety in my life too. Like they said, I would actually be miserable even if I did have a full caseload of just one-on-ones. That's not appealing to me. That's not appealing to me, and you're not helping the client when you're burnt out and whatnot. So, yeah, they're making a lot of really good points in this video.
super cool. I get to make art and spend time with my kids, and not everyone can do that, and it's just so
Yeah.
fucking dope. It's really great. Will I ever go back to therapy? I think so. I really do. But I don't know when that's going to be, and I'm not in a rush. A major con of taking this pause, though, is when I return, I'll be super rusty, and it'll.
I think they're going to be okay though. Little Rusty's okay, but one point I want to make, again, it's different in every state, but some states have a time limit requirement for you to be able to get your license. because I've heard of horror stories, especially for LMFTs and their rigorous requirements, where again you need a certain amount, a couple hours, family hours, and I've heard of stories of like a lot of people just not making it to full licensure because they couldn't get the hours. So that's another thing to be cautious of. In Minnesota, I don't exactly know. I think it might be like 4 to 5 years after you graduate. But again, don't quote me on that. Go to your behavioral health board's website to check that out. So, like they're doing, a break is fine, but you also have to be careful of not taking too long of a break, so you still have time to get your hours, so you don't lose everything completely. So,
It'll take me a second to get back. But I'm aware of that. I understood that when I made my choice, and I feel like that is something I am willing to tackle. So, yeah, that's my I quit therapy for a second story. I know I'm not the only one who has struggled in a helping profession, and I know I'm not the only one who struggles to afford daycare, and I know I'm not the only one who's made a major change in their life. So if you can relate to any of this, let me know in the comments. I always love to hear from you folks. All right, okay, bye. Oh, two more things before I go. One, all those services that I really value that I like to provide for my clients, I don't think that those are mandatory in order to be like a good clinician. They're just things that I personally value, and when I do those things, that's when I feel better.
so great video. I'm actually now I'm really motivated to like get them on my show now to do like where they're at now type of video with them, just to see how they're doing and everything. So I'll try to get a hold of them, and maybe we could do like a podcast or a combination podcast episode together if they're not too busy for me, because I'd be really interested to know how they're doing in their journey. And let me know down in the comments below if you want me to do an episode with them to see where they're at in their journey. Because yeah, I'm really interested to see how they're doing and what ended up happening and so forth. So, but anyways, everyone, this is my reaction video. I'm gonna work on being more consistent. And again, just know that the information expressed in this episode was not meant to be taken as therapeutic advice. If you do find yourself struggling with any type of mental health or addiction issues, please seek the care of a licensed medical doctor, licensed mental health professional, and please utilize crisis hotline 988, which now you can even text. So again, until next time, have a good day.